is cool about these guys who are here is that they're not required to be here. I can't tell them to be here, but they are here.
Good.
And as we look at the size of the group as a percentage, they are a large percentage of the group that's in here, which I think is interesting, Brindley, because we have over 500 real estate agents in this office. And this is the size of the group here, which I always find is very interesting. Especially with everything that's going on out there. And so to see these guys in here, in fact, we talked about it. They see value in being in here, which is Bob and I were talking about it yesterday, that what we talk about here isn't just applicable to real estate agents. It's not just applicable to loan officers, it's applicable to what? Everybody. Yes, I saw a hand going up. What was it?
Well, when you first came over here from what we call Ghetto Everest,
Right.
there were more people in this room than there are now. And there was only about 60, 70 agents.
Yeah.
Which is very
It
interesting.
is very interesting. But John, what I know is that what we'll see as the market continues to get more challenging, we'll see more people in this room because people are looking for what?
Answers.
Looking for answers. So having said that, I want you to write this phrase down. People of passion will always accomplish more and become more People of passion will always accomplish more and become more than the average person. Now, can the average person be passionate?
Yes.
Yeah, they have that potential with them. And are average people sometimes passionate?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are, yeah. But when I say people of passion, I'm talking about people who maintain a level of passion, a level of energy every single day. That doesn't mean they don't have off days, but they, more often than not, they have great days that allow them to accomplish the things that they want. What's the alternative to being passionate?
Defeated.
I can think of all sorts of words.
Boring.
Yes, that was the first word I was gonna say. Thank you.
You say boring?
Yes, boring. You know a lot of boring people. Say aye. You do, right? Do you like to spend time with boring people? No. Some of you right now are boring me. Do you like to spend time with boring people? No. Come on, interact with me. You came here to be a little bit more inspired and energetic, right?
Yes.
Well, if you expect me to energize you, you better energize me. It's like this is a symbiotic relationship, right, Brenda Lee?
It is.
Yeah. So people of passion, what's the statement? People of passion.
Well, always accomplish more and become more.
Yeah. So the alternative is we could be boring. What else? Stale, okay. Depressed. Monotone, okay. That's a physical or like at least something that we can see a cue, right? A manifestation.
If they want
The right thing's uninterested.
Okay, yeah.
They can't
I like it.
lead.
Apathetic. They what?
can't lead.
They can't lead. This is, you've said all the right things here, but one of the, I think the dominating thing is that I think the primary alternative to being passionate is being fearful. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. If you're not passionate, you're what?
Pessimistic.
You're pessimistic, you're fearful. I'm just telling you, it is the polar opposite of passionate. It is fear. Guarded, right? You have a choice every single day. One of my favorite stories that really exhibits this and speaks to the power of it is the Wright brothers. We all know the story.
Oh, yeah.
But Orville and Wilbur Wright. Let's start with this first of all. How many college degrees did they have between the two of them?
Zero.
Correct. How many high school diplomas did they have between the two of them?
Zero.
That's correct. Now, what did they do? What do you remember them for? Yeah, they invented the flying machine, right?
That's
The first one, right? I guess technically they didn't invent the flying machine. They invented and created the first successful flying machine. Yes,
Yes.
but this is what is interesting. When they were in the process of doing that, just to give you some perspective. For us looking back with 2020 hindsight, it's easy to say, well, duh, of course they could do it. No, not of course they could do it. The New York Times, when they were in the process of working on creating the flying machine, had published an article that said it was impossible to invent a machine that would sustain flight with a human being in that contraption. They said impossible. And if it were to happen, it would take 10 million years. That's what they said. You know what happened 2 weeks later? They flew in Kitty Hawk. 2
They
weeks
were
later.
also, John, competing against the American government in a division that was funding a PhD
Mhm.
in developing flight
Yep.
that came to the conclusion, we're not gonna be able to do this.
Well, so let's talk about that. The guy's name is Samuel P. Langley. You know Langley Air Force Base? Does that sound familiar at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so Langley Air Force Base was named after Samuel P. Langley. A PhD, very, very bright guy, very connected. He was on the board at Harvard. He served at the Smithsonian. He was very connected to various people in government. In fact, so connected that he was given a $50,000 grant from the War Department, which is now known as the Defense Department. $50,000. This was back in the first part of the 20th century, when $50,000 was a lot of money, a lot of money. You could buy a house back in the day for about $2,500. They gave him $50,000, a lot of money. Guess who invented the flying machine? It was not him.
No.
And why is that?
They didn't know better.
Well, yes, but here's what I believe, Rick. Do you know what the budget was for the Wright brothers? Do you know what they did? The Wright brothers were bicycle repairmen.
It's their like hobby to build that plane. Yeah,
Their hobby was really repairing bikes.
That's it.
okay.
Yeah, that was their hobby. Their passion was
Plain.
the plane.
Yeah.
That's why with a budget of $2,000, $2,000, it took them $2,000 to invent the flying machine. Samuel P. Langley with $50,000 couldn't do it. What's the difference?
Actually,
Passion, believe. Because see, when you're passionate, you believe. And this is what I know. People of passion tend to be more resourceful.
Yep.
A lot more resourceful. So Isaac and I were talking about this yesterday. I asked him, I said, so what are some of the things you want to accomplish? And he said, I want a car. And I said, what kind of car? What did you say, Isaac? A lot of different cars. And how did I respond to that? Yeah, but was it the right answer or the wrong answer you gave me? It was the wrong answer. What was I looking for? A specific car, right? And did you come up with one?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Okay. And?
Black with gray.
Okay. Are you guys starting to see his car?
Yeah.
As opposed to Isaac saying to me, I want a car. Okay, that can mean anything to me. I don't know what that is. See, what my point is this, that if you don't have a vision of what you want, you'll never get it. Now, I don't know how the Wright brothers got so animated and so excited about the flying machine, but were they? Were they?
Yeah.
They were. They had to have been because they what? They invented it.
Yeah.
You don't accomplish something like that if you're not passionate about it, if you're not resourceful. So my question for you is, are you resourceful enough?
Yeah.
There's no yawning in here, Jake, just for the record. Somebody get this man a copy. And congratulations, by the way, on being full-time. That's great.
Sorry, I just got.
No, it's all good.
Like you talking about passion and being, passionate and fearful.
Mhm.
I mean, they could have died.
Yes.
They could have died multiple times. They did crash and hurt themselves and
Yes.
throughout time. Like it's
And imagine if they had died.
Yeah.
What would that have meant for the idea of flight and how long would it take? Because I think eventually it would have happened.
10 million years.
That's the difference between,
That's such a great point.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the mindset, right?
And that was the difference between the two guys and the other.
Yeah.
The other one was in the office trying to figure it out, while these
Yeah.
guys were outside trying on wherever they were.
Be resourceful, doing all sorts of things. They were using parts from their bike shop to create this thing. Yes. Let me get Jason first, because his hand was up
Yeah,
before.
I think with society at that time too, they didn't think it was really possible. It was more of a hobby. So Langley was more of like, let's just try this experiment.
Yep.
Because the Wright brothers, they had to go to Europe to get the flying stuff to go.
Uh-huh.
If you hear the rest of the story,
Yes.
it's almost a year to 2 years later before the US said, oh, that's interesting.
Exactly, before they really took notice, right?
Yeah.
Because they thought, oh, this is just a gimmick, it's not sustainable. It's the same thing with the car. When, the car came out, that's not gonna last. People are not gonna give up their horse and buggy. We look at it and go, that is a ridiculous idea.
Still calculate horsepower.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
We have to go back to. But
Well,
He said that was weird.
So many of the words that we use to describe a car, parts of the car, come from the carriage and the horse and buggy. You realize that, right? It's so interesting.
The rockets that go into space are based off of forces.
Yeah.
Horse's ass, to be specific.
Yes.
And that is where we're gonna transition from the topic again. Right? We have a tendency to do that over here.
Well, because the trains are based upon the width of the ruts.
Yep.
They can't, and so what the tunnels that the trains go through
Yep.
are based on the width of what a train needs. And the rockets the trains carry
Yep.
are based on that width.
Yep.
And so because of that, they can't make the rocket bigger
Then the train.
because of the size of
The tunnels.
the horse.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all connected. So John, what's your point? My point is this. This is the time of year where we start to take an assessment. Okay, what did we do? How did we do? And more importantly, what do I want? And what are we going to have to do in order to achieve that? So the conversation that Isaac and I had yesterday is this. Identify what you want. And get really clear about what it is that you want. See, if we were to go out to a street corner where there are a lot of people and take a microphone and ask them, put a mic in their face and say, would you like to be a millionaire? What would they say?
Yes.
And if they didn't, I'd want to have a conversation with them. Have you lost your mind? Because I've been both broke, poor, and rich, and I can tell you, rich is a much better position to be in. But they would say yes. The question is, how many people out of 10, if we interview them, will ever be rich?
I want to try out 100.
Yeah, exactly. Because out of 10, probably none, John. Maybe out of 100, maybe one.
Maybe so.
Maybe, I don't know about that. Out of random people, statistically, that doesn't prove out. My point is, but even if it is, my point is, most people will ever achieve the life that they say that they want financially, in terms of the things that they want to do, the places they want to go. They won't. And it doesn't mean that I don't believe in people. It's because they don't go through the right process to become passionate and therefore become resourceful to make it actually what? It's happened. See, one of the most important phrases that I can share with you is this. Clarity is power. Would you like to be more powerful?
Yes.
Yes.
And be more clear?
Yes.
Be more clear about what it is that you want. Be more clear about when you want it. These are important things. I'm gonna write this down. Be clear about what you want. Be very clear about when you want it. In other words, set a deadline for it. I asked Isaac, when do you want your car? When are you getting it? There you go. See, when Isaac says to me he wants a car, it tells me he's not really serious about it. But when I ask him, Isaac, what do you want? He says, I want a Panamera. It's black with a what interior?
Gray.
With a gray interior. And then he starts to describe all the features and benefits in it. It tells me that he's actually spent a little bit of what?
Time.
Time what? Actually connecting to it. I asked him, have you ever driven one?
Yes.
Okay. It's difficult to connect with something if you haven't actually gone in and tried it out or experienced it. Well, John, I can't go to the Bahamas, because I gotta earn the right to get there. So I can't go there to see if I want to be there. I get that. But couldn't you work in your mind? Jim Rohn describes this. He said, I was building a house before it ever got started. I took my friend to the lot where it was going to be built. And I described where the entrance was and where the family room was. And I turned to show him the view out that beautiful family room window, that big picturesque window with all of that amazing view. And he said, and when I turned, I hit my elbow on the mantle. And of course, his point was, he was so descriptive in this home that he was building that he and his friend could actually what? See it, even though it wasn't there. See, if you don't connect the things to that level before it ever happens, it will never what? It's never going to happen. You're never going to be resourceful enough. You won't be. Yes, John.
So, I'm kind of writing my book about this. What I'm writing about is my experience of learning to ride a bike. Because at the age of 7, I was told because I have cerebral palsy, I'll never be able to ride a bike. But when I was 13, all, my brother and all our friends rode the bike to the local pool. And I was bored and lonely. And once my pain became more than the pain of learning, I didn't care.
Yeah.
So what I've learned from my life's experience, and I've recently seen that it's not totally correct, is more often than not, we are passionate when we experience pain.
Pain's a great motivator.
It is. Well, what has corrected me is watching you and George and what you created and accumulated. You don't have to have pain to create passion. You can choose to have a widening of vision and create passion and results without pain.
Right, that is well said. I don't know if I should say any more. I guess, yeah, right? Yeah, it's well said. Gang, be clear about what it is that you really want. Don't be the average person who says that someday I'll fill in the blank. I'll have this, I'll do this, I'll go there. Those people never will. The greatest repository of potential is graveyards. People take their best to the grave because they never really find something that they're absolutely passionate about because they don't take the time to do it. They're capable of it. So what I'm suggesting is sit down because this is the time of year to do it. Ask yourself, what do I want my relationship or relationships to look like? Now look at that, examine that. If you're not in a relationship, what sort of relationship do you want to be in? What does that person look like in that relationship? I don't mean physically, could be, yes, but all the things that you're looking for, right? What about your health, your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual? Get clear about what it is that you want those things to look like. I mean, who's in charge? Really? If not you, who? And then the third thing is, of course, your business and what you want for your finances, your income, your financial independence or dependence. Get clear about what that looks like for you. All I know is that the closer I get to the things that I want, the more excited I get about those things. And the more excited I get, the more disciplined I become in doing those things. And then I get those things. And I'm not just talking money. Money's not everything. And I think we all know that. All I can tell you is this. Like Johnny Depp said, money may not buy happiness, but it'll sell you right up to it in a very nice yacht. Right? And I'd like to take the journey along that pathway in some nice things, doing nice things. I was with Rick yesterday and we were in my car. And do you remember what I said about the greatest thing about having nice things?
Being able to share it.
That's it.
And that was look, one of my bucket lists was to drive a Rolls Royce. That happened yesterday because of this man. And it was extraordinary as I'm driving down the freeway. The looks that we got from people was, I'm thinking, it's not my people. He's going, oh, it is bananas. I'm like, right? Because in that moment, I did. I was behind the wheel. I was steering it.
I felt like I needed to hand him the keys.
It's
like it's yours, Rick. It's not mine anymore.
Crazy how those things come together. And here I am driving a Rolls Royce down the freeway.
And you know what is interesting? This is interesting. When I was 13 years old, I was determined that I was going to get that car.
Yeah.
And I got it this year. And I can tell you the number of times that happened in my life where I said, this is what I want. I was really clear about what I want. It wasn't, I want a Rolls Royce. No, I want that car that's out in the parking lot. It was that specific car. And I went out and got it. And the reason I got it is not because I desired it. Everybody desires things. It's because I was so closely connected to it. I had a vision of it. And I knew I was going to, it wasn't a question of if I was going to have it. It was only a question of when. And I went about making certain that I created a life that permitted me to be the person who could have that sort of thing. And you could fill in the blank. It doesn't have to be cars. But let me just, we'll finish on this because we're over time. And thank you for letting me go over. Mother Teresa. Anybody know that name?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What was her dream? What was the thing that she worked on so passionately? Eradicating what? Poverty. This little lady from Calcutta, India, right? She had this dream of eradicating poverty from the face of this earth. She took a vow of what? Poverty. But do you realize it took billions of dollars to do what she did? She would go around the world asking people for money. and gathered billions of dollars in doing that, billions to do what she did. So you can tell me that money's not that important to you. Well, that's great. But all I can tell you is that it's important to existence. It's important to the quality of life for people. You tell somebody who is struggling to make a house payment, a car payment, and tell them that money's not important. You tell somebody who's living on the street. I met a man this weekend who came up and approached me because of the car I was driving, and he was so kind. And he was homeless, and he said all these nice things. And he shared with me that his birthday was on the 19th of this month. You know, and I looked at this situation and I thought, man, here he is living on the street, and he's taking the time to compliment me on this car, which is irrelevant. And I started to get teary-eyed and feel like, oh my heavens, I am so blessed. I am so grateful for what it is that I have. But the thing that's so great about those situations is that I have the opportunity to give to people. So as I was driving away, I thought, well, wait a minute, I've got some money in my car. So I got in the glove box out of what my grandpa calls my billfold, right? And I grabbed some money and I handed it to him and I said, happy birthday. Now, all I know is this, that if I were struggling to survive, if I were living on the street and I didn't have any cash, I couldn't do that. And you might say, well, it's just money. Well, all I know is that after I drove away, I watched that man. I'm not making this up. Sorry.
Awesome.
Man, this speaks to human nature. I drove away and I saw him in my rearview mirror. He had his little cart that he would push with all his worldly belongings. He got down on his knees and he prayed. And I know what he was praying about. He was thanking God for that interaction and what had happened there. Gang, look beyond yourself. Having money is not about yourself. It's having the ability to impact the lives of other people. Success for me is doing what I want, with the people I want to, as often as I want to do it. And all I know is that when I am financially successful, it gives me the freedom to go out and impact the lives of other people in ways that I never thought imaginable. So take the time, if not for you, for the people in your lives and those who are not, that you'll meet at points in your life where they need your help and assistance. Do it for them, if not for yourself. Don't come up with this stupid idea that you're not about money and make that as excuses for why you're not going to do the things on a daily basis, disciplined to go out and create more wealth than you could possibly ever use yourself. Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men to ever exist on this planet, when he was a young man, said, my goal, my dream is to become the wealthiest person ever to exist and to give it all away. And that's what he did. He became the wealthiest man that ever existed up to his time. Adjusted for inflation today, he would be worth about 350 billion. He would eclipse Elon Musk. And guess what he did with that entire fortune?
Give it away.
He gave it away. So we'll finish on that, but John, just one quick comment and let's go.
The number one thing that stops people from getting passionate is what if I select the wrong thing? And my thought on that is on learning to ride the bike. My goal was to be able to ride the bike with my brother and his friends to a public pool. But I couldn't swim, so I never did. So what really matters is not if it's the right dream, it's do you have one?
Right.
Because the person you become once you achieve that is the true and ultimate goal.
I love it. Yep. Great. Okay. Thank you. Great job.